The following is a local resident producers program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or your video service provider.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of On Oshkosh. I'm your host Cheryl Hentz, and joining me tonight are some old friends. Well, one old friend and one new friend, but folks from the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, and we're going to be talking about their upcoming Walk for the Animals. We're going to be talking about a new department that they've created and all kinds of stuff that's animal related. So hope you stick around. It's going to be a fun hour. So to my left is someone who's been here almost as much as I have, it seems, over the years. Cheryl Rosenthal, she is the Communication and Education Coordinator at the shelter. She's also the cat consultant. So any cat questions that someone has,
I'm the person.
You're the go-to person. And then joining us for the first time, we have Cari Tetzlaff, and she is the Behavior Department Manager.
That's right.
And this is a brand new department, and so we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. So welcome. Happy to have you here, and hope that this will be the first of many visits to On Oshkosh. So I guess the first thing we should probably talk about is the Walk for the Animals, and I see you've got stuff there. What all do you have? Tell us about it. When's it coming up?
Right.
Where is it? And all the good particulars.
The Walk for the Animals is our biggest fundraiser. It goes to benefit our medical fund, and it is going to be on Saturday, September 14th at the Sunnyview Expo Center. And it is going to be activities start at 8:30, and we have a lot of fun things to do. We have our basket raffle, we have our vendors that you can visit, and of course this is a pledge walk, Cheryl, so we're hoping that people will go out and try to raise pledges to help with our medical fund. Our theme this year is Be Their Superhero, so we're hoping to see a lot of fun costumes. You know, this is your chance to wear that Wonder Woman costume or Batman or Spider-Man, or be a little, I don't know, gremlin, or what are those other little guys with the, those little guys with the big glasses on?
Minions.
There we go. Couldn't think of Minions. So we're just going to have a lot of fun with that. And something special that's going to be happening this year is WVBO is going to be having a classic car show at the same time in that same area. So we've got kind of a little bit of a partnership going on there. Their classic car show that usually takes place in Appleton had to be canceled because of weather, and so they're trying to recreate it, and they thought, well, what a great idea to partner up with us. So we're very excited for that, hoping that it comes to fruition, because it is last minute, we understand.
Sure.
But it's a morning event. It's fun for the whole family. You do not have to have a pet or a dog to walk. I think the biggest criteria, Cheryl, is you need to love animals. And if you want to be with people that love animals, come to the walk. We will also have food there. Our vegan bakery people will be there. And Zeroni's is donating some food, and Hot Dog Charlie will be there. Check out our website, OAHS.org.
We've got it, and I think they can put it up for us.
Look in the menu item, click on Walk for the Animals, and then there'll be a spot that says Meet Our Sponsors, and then that will follow into any of the vendors that have already committed to the event, and anything else that's going on, or they can give me a call at the shelter if they have questions.
Okay, what's the shelter number?
It is 920-424-2128. and just tell them that you're calling for Cheryl and need information about Walk for the Animals. We do have these brochures available at the shelter. If any of your listeners out there have a place where they would like to hang a poster or pick up some brochures to hand out, we can use all the help we can get. This is really a big thing for us. We're hoping to raise $52,000, which is less than half of what our annual medical costs are, and that's just our basic medical. This is your vaccinations, your spays and neuters. This isn't any emergency medical things that come up.
Sure.
This is just our basic medical that we do for every single animal that comes to us. So
and
very
medical
important.
events do come up that are emergency type things.
Right,
so
and that's a different fund. That would be like our Cuddles Fund, where that monies would come out of. But the Walk for the Animals is for our basic medical fund. 10 out of 10 animals coming to us need some kind of medical treatment, whether it's for maybe they have an ear infection, maybe they have fleas, maybe they've never had their vaccinations, maybe they need to be spayed or neutered. There's any variety of things.
Sure.
And we make sure that they are all up, brought up to date on those things. So, and that costs a lot of money to do those things.
Yeah, and like you said, then there's those emergent type situations that come up. The one that I'm thinking of that just comes to the top of my head was I think it was on New Year's a year and a half ago when the car got hit by the train.
Yes.
And how is that dog doing, by the way?
I believe she's doing well. You're
Yes.
talking about Elsa. Yes.
Yes.
The last report that I heard was a positive one.
And she found a home.
Yes, she was
She was
adopted.
adopted.
She found a good home, and it's unfortunate that we see so many dogs that it's like we can't keep. Well, we try to keep track of them all, but we always sometimes you figure no news is good news.
Yeah.
That she's
You hope so,
well and
anyway.
happy. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes we reach out. We send our we get in touch with all of our adopters through with a email follow-up, and we hope that people will reply and let us know how animals are doing. We don't want to just adopt an animal and say, okay, here you go, see you later, thanks, bye, and forget about them. We want people to understand that we're a resource for them, that if you are having trouble introducing an animal into your home, and that's why we have our adoption sessions that we do.
Right.
But we also want to make sure that down the road, if you have a concern or a problem, that we want you to feel that you can contact us, and we'll try to help you.
And that's I want to talk a little bit later about the whole adoption process from start to finish, and so we can kind of incorporate that in. So, feel free to mention that again when we get to that point. So, is there anything else about the Walk for the Animals? And I guess, if people don't want to. Like, I'm not a person who wants to go around and ask people for money. I've always had a problem with that. I'll ask them for other things, but actually, I don't ask people for very much. I will say that. But you can just make a pledge, right? I mean, you can just make a donation.
There's a couple ways to do it. I feel like you do. I don't like asking people for money, but I'm okay asking them in an email. And so you can raise funds online. You can create your own page. Maybe you adopted an animal from the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, or maybe you have a dog that you rescued from another organization, and you believe very highly of rescuing animals, and you want to support this. You can go to First Giving, and that you can go to First Giving and then Oshkosh Area Humane Society. The brochure will tell you how to get there, and you can create your own page, and you and your pet can fundraise, and that way people get an email and say, I'm walking for the animals, will you support, will you pledge to my page? That's another way for people to do it. But yet, if that doesn't work for people, but they feel strongly that they would like to make a donation, they certainly can write out a check or drop off cash. We have some people that they just come to the walk and support it by buying raffle tickets. We're going to be raffling off a beautiful cat tree that was built especially for this event.
Wow.
So we'll have that there. We're also going to be raffling off a a machine that fires tennis balls.
Oh,
If my dog was younger, I'd have to get it for him because he loves tennis balls. So we're going to be raffling that off, plus our basket raffle. So some people just come and they support the event monetarily in that fashion. They just come and they have a good time, and so there's a lot of different ways that they can support this event.
Yep.
So.
And it is really important. I'll be there. I'll have a
Yes, you
table
will.
there for a couple of different organizations that I'm involved in, all related to animals, of course. And so if people want to stop by and see me, that's fine too.
And we do have
my
a couple
table somewhere.
vendors that are coming. The herpetological, am I saying that correctly? From Madison will be there.
Snakes and-
The snakes and the
Geckos,
reptiles.
right,
all the reptiles, yeah.
the lizards and
Yeah.
whatever. They're going to be there. We're always excited to have them. They have such an educational aspect to those animals. They care very much about them, and they can help people understand why they're not necessarily a good pet. Nanette Thurber will be there with the ferrets from the Appleton area. So Roseberry Birds will be there. So we do have other animal groups that will be represented there. In addition to some of our vendors, Tranquil Tales will be there, and she's going to be offering a 10-minute massage free of charge for your dog. It's I have people going, "Can I have the massage?" And it's for your dog.
Yeah.
But you have to sign up as soon as you get to the walk. You need to sign up with her so that she can get all the animals.
Well,
in.
yeah, I'm sure that she's going to be a very popular
Yeah.
person.
And then, of course, we have places where you can have your picture taken. Some people love to bring their dog and get a more quote-unquote professional portrait of their pet, where you have somebody who can distract your dog and get a good shot of them looking. And this year we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take it with their phone so that they have their picture
On their phone.
immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have their picture immediately rather than, oh, I wonder when they're going to get me my picture. So it's just
if you're
great
going,
morning.
If you're going, you should take your cell phone with you.
Yep.
You know, and I think most people take their phones every place they go
Right.
anyway, but that's a good point to make, is that, you know,
Right.
if you are going and you're not one to necessarily take your phone everywhere you go, be sure you take it if you want a picture of yourself with your dog or dogs or cat
Yeah, right.
or
We're
whatever
going to have
the case
another
may be.
camera there too in case somebody doesn't. It's just that they're not going to have their picture instantaneously.
Yeah.
They also think the other thing is if you're coming and there are vendors or there are places where you can make donations, like some of the ferrets and the birds and the reptiles.
Yeah.
You may want to make a donation. So think about bringing some cash along so that you have a little extra spending money to help support all these people that are going to be there and give of their morning.
Yeah.
It is just a morning event. It starts at 8:30 and we usually wrap up about noon, so you
Yep.
have the rest of your day if you have a wedding or other celebrations to go to. And we can guarantee you that if you bring your dog, they will be good and tired by the time you take them home.
The people will be too. I can attest to that. And let's hope that this year the mosquitoes are not as bad as they were last
Oh,
year.
heavens, yes.
That was awful last year, sitting at that table, and I was just getting beat. I was getting bitten up. The sun was beating on me.
It seems if we don't have the mosquitoes, we have bees. So
Yeah.
we'll have
Well,
to do something about that.
So yeah.
Well, we'll try our best. We'll put in a good
Well,
order.
I'm going to take some insect repellent
We need
too, and
a cool day and a breeze. A good
a
breeze.
day like today, but maybe a bit breezier would be
Yep,
perfect.
Yep, that would be perfect.
So-
So from your lips to God's ears for good weather.
And if people don't want to walk, they don't have to walk. They can just make a donation.
Yep, they can make pledges. They can just, you don't have to walk.
Yeah, they can
And I
just
think
make
on
a donation.
I think in the
and
brochure
check
it
out all the
actually has
stuff.
a spot that, sorry, I can't participate or I'm unable to participate, and they can, make their pledge, to the walk
Sure.
without having to be
People
there.
can get these at the shelter.
At the shelter,
Okay.
different area businesses downtown, some of the shops have them.
Okay.
That they're handing them out. But it's also available on our website. They can download this and print it out right from our website also. So we try to make it as easy to participate as possible. And again, if they have any questions, just call me.
Sure. And that website, again, for folks who are listening to this on the radio, it is OAHS.org. OAHS, which is the acronym for Oshkosh Area Humane Society. So that's a good thing. I think we really, wow, you covered a lot.
Yeah. You just hit the right button, Cheryl.
That's right. That's right. Well, we've done this for so many years, and you talk to so many other people.
I forgot about the most important part of the walk, and that's the walk. It is so thrilling to see all of those people and their pets line up. I'm going to get choked up here. They all line up to start the walk, and the sign that we have says life saving starts here. And to see all these people that want to make this a reality, it just really makes you feel awesome.
Yeah. Well, I know last year, I don't know how much you guys were trying to raise last year, but Joni got very choked up when she announced how much money had been raised that morning and the time period before that. You guys beat the record that you had set.
We exceeded our goal.
Yeah.
And, to know that we have that type of community support is because we can't save anybody without community support, and it's so important that we have that. A shelter can only provide the services that our community will support, and I want to just say kudos to the Oshkosh area, our citizens that support our organization, because without them we're nothing.
Yeah.
I always tease, I'm willing to do the work if you give me the money that we can put to work.
Sure. Oh, that's a good one. Did you come up with that sign?
I think so.
Well, we'll give her credit for it, right?
That's right.
And even if you can't make it to the walk, you can go online, you can make a pledge. They're always looking for donations, and there are so many different ways in which you can help. I mean, kids have collected cans over the years. For a while, kids were collecting those
the weight circles. That program has been discontinued.
It has. Okay.
It has been discontinued. We no longer have our can dumpster at the shelter, but if anyone is still collecting aluminum cans for us, if they go to Sept, my husband Tom goes there, and he said they have a big Gaylord, a big aluminum something, and he said, and it's earmarked Oshkosh Area Humane Society, so you can still donate your cans to us. It's just that you're not going to be able to donate them at our location. You would have to go to Sept to do that, and their hours, I believe, they're open as early as 7 in the morning.
And where are they located, Cheryl?
I think they're on South Main. I'm not real sure.
Yeah, you're right. I believe they are. Or the other thing is, you can take it to any place that collects aluminum
and get
the money. I know we take ours out to a place on Witzel Avenue because that's closest to home for us, and we help in a different way as well. I mean, we always make a special donation for whatever cause you guys have going. But we also give an amount each month where we are called in our household Humane Heroes. That's the designation.
And that's what you're called at our shelter.
Yep.
You are a Humane Hero
Yes.
if you give a set amount every month.
Yep. And that's something that is very easy to set up. I mean, it just comes directly out of your checking or savings account. We've done that for, I think, probably 7 years now, maybe even longer.
Right.
And
that really helps the shelter.
It does.
As a nonprofit organization, we don't have a regular influx of cash every month. And by having an established group of people that are monthly making those donations, that helps us with our cash flow.
Sure.
And so our way of showing our appreciation for that is when you're a Humane Hero, you get to put your name or your or in memory of somebody, if you would prefer, on either a cat condo, a dog kennel, or one of the galleries. And so you're recognized by other people.
I don't know if I ever did that.
Well, I'll have to ask Pat
I'll have
and
to have
find
you
out
look.
where you are, because
We may have written our name on one of the dogs.
Yep, you're probably on one of the dog kennels,
Yeah.
and I will
'Cause I'm
look
a
when
dog
I walk
person.
through. Yep, you are a dog person, definitely.
All right. Well, very good. And, before the show wraps up, we will give the information, the basics about the Walk for the Animals again. How many years have you been doing this? It used to be called Shelter Trek, but it's kind of the same thing. So can
Shelter
we go back?
Trek was, I think the last one was number 20, or was it number 19? And this is number 5 or 6.
Okay, so you're at about a quarter century of doing a walk that benefits the shelter and the animals and the people also. I think that's important to state.
Right.
And
I've only been doing it for 20-some, but the walk itself has been
well, and I've been
established.
affiliated with you for
Yeah.
a long, long time because I started out, doing the newsletter for the shelter. I was on the board of directors for a while. In fact, I was on the board when the money came in to build the very beautiful shelter. that
You
guys
were
did.
very helpful for me when I came on board, and they said that I was responsible for writing a newsletter. And I was an English major, but I never put together a newsletter. And I just always remember one thing that you told me when you're writing an article, the point that you want to get across, mention it a couple of times in your piece. And I've never forgotten that,
Wow.
that if I have something that I want to get a point across, and you say it a different way each time, but that gets your point across. So I really appreciate that you had that you were there to help me at
Thank
those
you.
early years.
I enjoyed doing the newsletter, and they looked really good. Of course, over a period of time, things change, and
Yep.
now things are done digitally and
Yep.
and email blasts and things like that. But boy, it was so fun putting those things together, and they looked so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not just patting myself on
Right,
the back.
right.
The printer did a great
Yeah,
job,
and there's still something to be said to be able to pick up a piece of paper
Yeah.
or pick up a book. And, you look at your computer and you see that cute little dog face or you see that cute little kitty face, and then you turn your computer off and it's gone. And then, but when you have a brochure or something and it's staring at you, I think sometimes that has a tendency to tug at people's heartstrings just as much.
Sure. You mentioned little dog and cat faces and what have you. I just want to divert for one moment, but it still is something that we've done for the shelter. At my church, which is First Congregational Church here in Oshkosh, I facilitate an animal ministries group. Now, you do not have to be a member of the church. You do not have to belong to any faith as far as that goes. As long as you have a love for helping animals in some shape, form, or fashion, and you want to better things in this world for an animal, we as a group would welcome you no matter what your faith or if you have no faith. I would like to think people have faith in something, but,
Right.
but you don't have to have some religious faith or what have you. We do hold our meetings in a church, however, but it's very laid back, and there's no preaching, there's no sermonettes. We just work toward helping the animals. And what we have done a couple times a year, usually, is we've done a fill the bowl thing where we have had people make donations for you guys at the shelter. This year we did a Christmas in July, and we brought over 2 different. We had to bring things over the one time because the bin was full.
That's right.
And I don't know what exactly was brought over the second time, but it's just, every little bit helps, whether
Yes.
it's a little bit from a young child or a lot from some very wealthy individual. It all goes into a pool to help the animals and the cause and the people. Why don't we let Cari here get involved in the conversation?
Jump in, Cari.
What you guys do at the shelter really is helping not just pets, but it's their people also. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because sometimes I think people forget that helping pets is helping people.
100%. Well, every animal that we touch is connected to a person in some way. So, a person turns to us for help with I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who was quite impassioned about the stray cats that are in his neighborhood, and he's not a cat lover, but he wanted information about, who are these cats that are free roaming in my neighborhood and why are they here and what can be done about it. And that was a way of helping a person to have that phone conversation with this gentleman and tell him about TNR, talk to him about free roaming cats, talk to him about
TNR.
Yeah, trap, neuter, returns.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Humane ways of dealing with cat overpopulation that reduce the need for euthanasia, better the lives of cats, and better his life so that there's fewer free roaming cats
Sure.
in his neighborhood, right?
Sure.
People who turn to us with an animal they can no longer keep and need to surrender that animal, we're touching their life in a profound way to know that they can hand that animal over to an organization who will care about them and do their very best for them.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I just, I
Please.
want to add something to that. That's one of the things that we help at my church to raise for you guys. A lot of times people feel that they have to surrender a pet because they can't feed it.
Right.
And you guys do have a food pantry there.
That's right.
At the shelter that many things that we have raised for you guys has been pet food.
Right.
Cat food, dog food, what have you. And, of course, they may not be able to pay for medical care either if their pet needs something. And in that case, they may have to surrender the animal. But if they're feeling like they need to surrender it because they can't feed it, there is a need, that's a need that you guys fill.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's a wonderful program and it keeps families together. Times are tough and sometimes people want to do the right things and they're just having a hard time making ends meet. We don't want to see an animal go hungry. It's a wonderful program to be able to offer cat and dog food to those families.
Sure. So anyway, I had interrupted you. So
No, that's fine.
You were
So-
on a roll, so
Yeah, no,
hopefully you can get
yeah.
back
I mean,
on it.
really, just talking about the different ways that we're helping people by helping animals. Sometimes we talked about the pet food pantry, and that's a way of keeping families together. Sometimes we can offer great education and information to people who are struggling with an animal issue that helps them keep an animal in their home where they're happiest with the person that they care about and the person cares about the animal. We are knowledgeable animal professionals who really have the know-how and the tools of the trade to be able to offer many different amazing animal services to our community.
Sure. And I guess that's kind of where you come in with your cat consulting. And I don't know, do you have a dog consultant at the shelter?
I think she's sitting right across the table from me.
You're the dog consultant.
You got
Right.
Okay.
Cari, to me, has been just a huge asset to our shelter. If I remember correctly, you started as a volunteer with small mammals,
That's
with
right.
rabbits and small mammals. Then you became an adoption counselor.
Yes.
And then after being an adoption counselor, she became our volunteer coordinator. And after volunteer coordinator, she became our admissions manager. And when you're an admissions manager, what that means is anybody who comes through the door with an animal, whether it's to surrender or reclaim or a stray, whatever it may be, she was in charge of admissions. Yes, we can take this animal or this animal, we can work with this person and we're going to handle it this way. And I've seen Cari grow from small mammals into her position now of, please don't take offense to this, she is the queen of clicker training. I have the worst timing in the world. I am terrible with clicker training and my dogs are so forgiving and do what I ask them to even though I don't click at the right time. But she has been such an asset to our organization so that having the knowledge of why animals present certain behaviors and how to correct those behaviors in a compassionate way and not having to use force. And so I think you should talk a little bit about what is your background and how you got to and she was the inspiration to creating this behavioral department. And the behavioral department, I started out doing consultations for cats because we see 4 times as many cats as we do dogs. And so there was a real urgent need to really, we got to help these cats stay in their home. And we weren't necessarily seeing that same need for dogs. But now, because our shelter is a life-saving shelter, we are seeing more complex behaviors coming into our shelter that people need more help in understanding and how to deal with that.
Sure.
So I'm going to let Cari take over
I think
and
that's a
talk
good idea.
about how this all came about with you.
Sure.
I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah. When did this behavior department start, actually?
So I officially started this role July of this year.
Oh,
but this
so
has
just a
been-
month or so ago.
You got it. It's
Okay.
just, it's been a dream that's a long time coming and something we've worked towards for many years.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it really started when I brought home my first dog from the Humane Society. It was an awesome experience to bring home this little life that was depending on me to do the right things for him. But it was also a lesson that loving an animal isn't always enough to be able to help them learn how to live successfully with you. It takes knowledge and know-how, how to communicate with that animal, to understand what their needs are. And that began a long journey of trying to learn about animal behavior, to try to learn about what I can do as a caregiver for an animal to support their needs, to create an environment where they're going to thrive and have great quality of life. 2013, we created our Mod Squad program, which is a volunteer-driven behavior modification program. I was involved in that creation of that program as our volunteer coordinator. And that's really when I think I was truly bitten by the behavior bug. I started reading every book, going to every conference, seeing every speaker. I started working with Karen Pryor Academy, taking different courses, and I eventually got my certification through Karen Pryor Academy's professional dog training program.
Okay.
I completed that very rigorous coursework in 2015.
Sure.
And ever since then, I've been...
Congratulations.
Thank you. Ever since then, I've been working with our director to try to figure out how do we make
She
this
knows how to
happen.
clicker train a chicken.
Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
I have trained a chicken. Yes, I attended a chicken training camp, believe it or not. That's a real thing that dog trainers do to improve their timing.
Well, but you know, I mean, we kind of giggle and tee-hee about this, but more and more people, more and more communities, Oshkosh has become a place where people can have backyard chickens. More and more communities are going that route.
That's right.
And, you know, these are animals too, and,
Right.
you know, they at times need training. I don't know
Yes.
how in the world you did that, but kudos
But I
for
think
doing
I
that.
think it speaks to the fact that all animals are trainable. And clicker training isn't just for animals. I mean, there's a lot of coaches in figure skating and gymnastics that use clicker training with their students, with their clients. That because that click is so instant. Let's say that you've got an ice skater who's practicing her spin. She can hear that click in an instant to know that I'm right on. And if you don't hear that click, okay, I'm not doing it quite right. So it's like that instant reward, and they are using it more and more. Like Cari said, for gymnastics and for it's fun. We did something with our staff where we used clicker training on each other, and you couldn't talk. But anyway, not to get off course here.
It's true,
but
though.
We just won a high five contest of teaching, you know. Was that national or internationally?
It was a national contest through the Jackson Galaxy Foundation and the Greater Good Foundation put on this contest. It was a national high five day contest, and the goal was to create the most impressive cat high five video.
Okay.
So we created, a few staff people created a video montage of our cats showing off how intelligent they are, high fiving, and we won. We were thrilled. We won a trip to LA. We got to meet Jackson Galaxy and Kitten Lady, and we're really proud to represent our shelter on a nationwide scale.
Congratulations on that too.
Right.
Yeah.
See, there's so many things that you guys are doing that, and that's why I like having the shelter on a couple times a year if we can, because there's always something new happening at the shelter. Yeah. Always something.
Clicker training
new.
is something that everybody can do. I mean, I can
true.
do it, but I'm not real good at it. But practice makes perfect.
You got it.
I can't do it, but I will say this. I still have my clicker, but it just didn't seem to work for me, and maybe I wasn't doing it right. But, you know, when we talk about training, it's really training the person probably much more so than it is training the dog. or the cat or the chicken.
Yeah.
You know, and I will just give you one instance where I think most people would probably have given up in this case. This was about 11 and a half years ago. I got this puppy, and if I let her out of the crate, she was finding things to chew on and kind of destroy. If we crated her, when we'd go away, she found a way to get out of the crate. This dog destroyed 4 crates and kept meeting us at the door. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy because we can't crate her apparently, but we can't not crate her either. So I called an animal behaviorist who used to be on staff there, Jody Hergen-Andreessen.
Yes.
And so I called her. She came out to the house. It certainly wasn't free, nor did I expect it to be, but she came out to the house. She gave us very sound, sage advice. And she told me something that I never knew before. She said, first of all, the dog suffers from kennellosis, which is the canine version of claustrophobia. And she said, I think she might have some separation anxiety issues too. And so she said, when a dog is most freaked out after a person leaves, it's that first 20 to 30 minutes. So she told us to go to Fleet Farm or go to a pet food store or any kind of pet store, period, and buy the actual bones, not rawhide. Don't ever give your dog rawhide bones. They are highly dangerous, and far too many dogs have perished because of those rawhide bones. So do not do that. But these were the actual bones that have marrow in them. She said take them home, coat the ends with Cheese Whiz or peanut butter, and freeze them. And she said then when you go away, put the puppy and one of those frozen bones in the crate and close the door, lock her in. She's teething, so it'll feel good on her gums. It's a nice, cold, tasty treat, and she's going to be focusing on that. She's not even going to focus on the fact that you've left. And after a while, she'll enjoy the fact that when you go away, she gets something nice. And I have to say that that was some of the best advice I've probably ever been given by someone in my life as a dog owner, which has been all my life. You know, within probably 4 to 6 weeks, that dog could be left alone. She has the full reign of the house and does not cause a single solitary problem. And see, most people, or at least some people, would have given up on her, saying, well, you can't crate her, you can't not crate her. I'm just going to surrender the thing. You know?
And I think what can also happen is people sometimes forget every animal, just like every person, is different. And I've had people say this to me a lot in my career of, you know, oh, I've had cats all my life. I know, you know, I've had cats all my life. And I just want to say having an animal all your life doesn't make you an expert on that particular species.
And I'm here to testify to that.
It's kind of like when I was growing up, I had electricity and running water. All my life I've had electricity. That doesn't make me an electrician.
That's a good analogy.
So I think with our behavior department, the whole idea behind our behavior department is to further that human-animal bond and help people understand, how do I tell my dog what I want from my dog, and how do I listen to what my dog is telling me? Because when dogs are presenting, or animals, any animal is presenting certain behaviors, they're trying to communicate something to us. And instead of us getting angry with them and yelling at them or reprimanding them, making them more fearful of us, we need to really stop and think about, okay, I don't know what I'm facing here. And that is the neat part, is you can like you were referred to Jody Hergert Andreessen. Isn't it wonderful that we have people like that we can go to and say, can you explain this to me? I don't understand.
And now we have Cari.
Right.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, folks that may want to surrender, and that's really a key part of my role is a lot of the folks that I am doing consulting with in their mind feel that they've tried everything. If only we had $1 for every time we've heard that phrase. I've tried everything. And they
But
feel
there's
that
always
there's no other
something new to
option.
try.
Right. And that's really at the heart of what I can provide to folks is helping them maybe consider a different angle from their animal's perspective that they haven't thought about, help clear up some miscommunication that might be happening, some misinterpretation that might be happening, and help their animal's needs get met, and then help the humans' needs too. That's really at the heart of most problems is you've got a frustrated human dealing with a behavior that almost always is really normal animal behavior. It's an expression of a need that they have, and we figure out what is the function of the behavior that this person needs to get rid of, and what's a healthier alternative for this animal to display, meeting both people and animals' needs with a solution.
Well, I think that people, and I volunteer a lot of my time in dog rescue work, and I think that people have the misconception that when you get an animal, whether it's a dog or a cat or a bird or rabbit, whatever, it's going to be this perfect pet. Every dog that you get is not going to be like Lassie. I'm kind of dating myself here. I don't know what dogs are really popular right now, but they don't come out of their mother's womb being perfect. You have to mold and shape them.
That's right. A phrase I use frequently is you have to teach animals how to live in your world. And that's true. When we welcome an animal into our home, they don't know what our expectations are. And that's our job as their guardian and teacher to help share that information with the animal so that they know how to behave.
Yeah, just as parents teach children.
Yeah, and sometimes we send a mixed message.
That's right.
One day, oh, you're on the couch. Isn't that cute? Oh, that's really adorable. Oh my gosh, you're on the couch. Get off.
Yeah.
It's like one or the other. Yeah. And to really be consistent and to figure out what message you're sending.
Right.
And to understand that animals, one of the things I think that we see a lot is we hear from a lot of people, oh, my dog must have been abused because whenever I raise my voice, or if they, or my dog knows that he's done something wrong. I come home and my dog knows that he's done something wrong. The dog doesn't know that they've done something wrong. They just know something is wrong by your appearance because you have changed your posture. Maybe you've gotten stiff. The tone of your voice has changed. And animals pick up on those little tiny things of body language, and that's what they're responding to. They realize that when mom makes that face, she's angry, so I'm going to go hide in my crate. And so they think, oh, well, I didn't yell at the dog or do anything, so the dog knows that they did something wrong.
They must be feeling guilty, right?
They're feeling guilty.
Yeah, it's called appeasement behavior. So they can anticipate by reading our body language that we're upset, and they're trying to.
They read our body language better than we do.
Yeah,
that's true.
And those are the things that working with behavior, it's difficult. It's something. Consultations are long when you're trying to help people because you have to pick through all of the behaviors that are going on and what's going on in the home and what they're doing. And but there's such important tools. And then part of, and maybe you can speak to this, is when we have a shelter animal that has some of these behavioral concerns, is Cari's primary job, I believe, is creating a plan. And maybe you can talk about how, you kind of do the evaluation, and then she comes up with a plan that she shares with the rest of the staff and helps us learn. Like, I'm going to use one of the common things at the shelter. We have dogs that when you take them for the walk, they chew on their leash. So that's a real problem. Nobody wants, because sometimes they graduate from the leash up further to your arm or your hand or your whatever. So that's where Cari comes in, and she helps us learn what's the best way to address this behavioral concern before it gets excessive, and helps that dog become more adoptable in the process.
Okay.
So it's...
Yeah. So sometimes I get to know the animal before they've been surrendered, which is always nice to have that heads up that before the animal even arrives, they're coming to us, and they're coming to us with an issue. People aren't perfect, and the animals in our care aren't all perfect either. So it's nice to have some good, accurate information about who is this animal, what are their concerns. It also is helpful if I've done a consultation with someone who's surrendering to be able to know what didn't work about this particular animal's environment and what could we maybe look for in a new adoptive home that would better support that animal's needs. When they arrive, I need to do a good job of sharing information with the rest of our staff and volunteers. If they show up and I have no prior knowledge of who this animal is, quickly work to gather information, gathering information from our dog walkers, our cat volunteers, our intake staff, working directly with the animal myself to come up with a plan. And then what I want to do is train our volunteers to work with whatever issue that animal has and educate our adoption counselors on here's how you would educate an adopter on how to work with this issue. We certainly try to improve the behavior while they're living in the shelter if we can, or at least not have it get worse due to the conditions of living under stress. And I'm even willing to work with adopters post-adoption to help make sure that they're able to follow that plan that we came up with. It's a joy to be able to follow the animals all the way through.
Sure. So that's sort of the gist of your department.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If people in the community have a problem with their pet that they already have, maybe it didn't even come from the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, is your department there at the ready to help them with their issues as well? Or are you just dealing with animals that are already in the shelter and being adopted out? And the reason I ask that is because if someone already has an existing animal, they may be frustrated to the point where they are thinking of surrendering it.
Right.
And nobody wants to see that, if at all possible.
Right.
So what say you to that?
So starting next year, I will be offering consultations and classes to the community for folks who aren't considering surrendering, but really do need some extra services from a credentialed animal professional. Right now, my focus is really on trying to help folks that are in a state of crisis with their animals. So if they're at the point where they're ready to surrender, that's usually where I'm going to step in and help. But I offer support to folks that need referrals to other credentialed professionals on a regular, ongoing basis as a part of my role, just to get them started and to connect them with some good resources.
Sure.
But yeah, really the focus for me is how do I keep animals out of the shelter environment if I can? How do I keep families together if I can? And if an animal has to be surrendered, how do I gather the best information I can to be able to support their needs once they arrive?
Sure.
And then follow them through with that plan all the way through adoption.
Yeah, and I want to say two things here. One, it's really important that if someone is seeking advice and counseling, whether it's a dog or a cat or a chicken, that is going to stick with me for quite some time. It's important that they do find someone who's credentialed.
Yes.
Because at least in the state of Wisconsin, I don't know about other states, and you might be watching this on YouTube, so I don't know about your particular state, but in the state of Wisconsin, you don't need to have a license to call yourself a dog trainer or a dog behaviorist. You can just say you are, and you can hang out a shingle and let the business roll through the door.
You hit the nail on the head.
And that's not necessarily good. So if you're seeking someone, please make sure that they're licensed and or credentialed.
That's something we're passionate about, and I'd like to speak to that too.
Sure,
We
go ahead.
do work with folks who have received well-intentioned advice from maybe friends or family who aren't dog trainers or cat consultants, and sometimes that can make problems worse. Really, really recommend that folks reach out to somebody who has the appropriate level of training and knowledge to be able to do things the right way. This is an unregulated field. It's buyer beware. You really do have to ask questions when you're looking for a dog trainer, for example, as well. Ask really good questions. How did you receive the training and knowledge that you have about animal training, and what kind of preparatory work did you do before becoming a consultant?
Sure.
Asking a trainer what kind of methods they're going to be using. Something I'm very passionate about is training without pain and fear and intimidation. Ask a trainer before you take them on for services, what are the techniques and methods that would be used on my animal?
Yep. And I don't think it's unreasonable also to ask to see their credentials.
Absolutely.
Anybody can say anything, but it's important to be able to see it.
Yes.
The second point that I want to make has to do with if you are surrendering an animal, and I know this just from my years of working in this field, volunteering, and you guys, I'm sure, see it a lot. If you need to surrender an animal, please be honest about why you're surrendering it. Don't just say, well, I'm moving and I can't take the dog or the cat with me, when the reality is you've got a behavior problem with that animal. You're going to have much better chances, the shelter will have much better chances of being able to rehome that pet of yours. If you be honest with them when you're surrendering the animal, they can probably help to figure out the problems. That's
Right.
why
Right.
you are professionals.
The animal probably
Exactly.
won't be there as long because we already know what the problem is, where if we don't know what the problem is, sometimes people don't even tell us of medical issues that animals have.
Right.
Yes,
And then
that was
we
going to
have
be my other point.
and then we have to try to figure out, well, what is wrong with this animal? So we spend all this time doing diagnostics where if somebody would just say the cat is hyperthyroid, that's okay. We'll still take the cat. It's okay. And then we have something to work with, and then we can go from there. But when you know nothing, and that's why it is so difficult when we take in stray animals. People who, it has to be a very traumatic, emotional thing to know that you need to give up your animal. But letting them loose, hoping that somebody will take them to the shelter, puts them at a great disadvantage.
That's right.
And
at great risk.
at great risk. Because here again, when we get in a stray animal, what vaccinations have they had? What is their history? Do they have any food allergies? Do they like kids? Do they like cats? Did they live with other dogs? And it's so wonderful when we can have that full history. And I think Cari and I have a very similar philosophy. We're just the type of people that we can accept animals as they are. We all have quirks, and some of them really bug people.
Yeah.
And animals are the same way. And sometimes there are cats and dogs who have behaviors that, if you can come up with a compromise that you can live with, then that's the compromise that you use. And if it's something that you can't live with, tell us about it when you surrender that animal, and maybe we can find somebody who is able to, accommodate
Absolutely.
that animal's behavior.
Yeah, sometimes people feel embarrassed to admit that an animal was having issues in their care, and sometimes we'll have people come in and be dishonest, like, oh, I found this animal outside, or, if we don't know about an issue, then we can't start working on it. And just as Cheryl said, to be able to provide us with that level of detail, we are understanding, caring, compassionate people. It doesn't mean that animal is not going to be given a chance. Maybe we can do better having those details. For example, if a cat is afraid of young children and it's causing it to hide, and that contributed to a litter box issue, it didn't feel comfortable being able to move about a home freely. Maybe it did very poorly with dogs and had issues related to fear of dogs in the home. If we don't know that, we could inadvertently place it into a home where somebody has dogs, and then the problem happens all over again. And that's the last thing we want. We want to set these guys up for success in their new home.
Well, it just comes down to the old basic adage, honesty is the best policy.
That's right.
And if you just be honest with people, your problems are going to be much less.
And Cari brought up a good point. A lot of times when people feel that they need to surrender their animal to the shelter, for whatever reason it is, they're embarrassed or they're afraid to come in. And I have learned over my years, the fact that that person brought their animal to the shelter, they want to do the right thing for their animal. They've already proven to me that they care about that animal. And so we're not there to judge. We are there to help, and that goes back to helping people. You can't help an animal until you help the person that it's attached to. And I think our staff does a really good job when people are surrendering their animals to understand that this is a very emotional situation for them and try to be compassionate. That this is you just don't wake up one morning and say, well, we're going to get rid of the dog today.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there are steps that lead to that. So by bringing your animal to the shelter, and I ask this of the children in my classes, when somebody brings an animal to the shelter, does that make them a bad person? And they all agree, no, it doesn't make them a bad
Right.
person. So.
Okay, perfect. We are quickly running out of time, but I want to briefly, kind of touch on your adoption process. Walk us through it from start to finish, but quickly, because we're running
I
out
can
of
take
time.
that.
Okay.
So we really try to get a person visiting with an animal as soon as possible. We understand there's some shelters that do it differently. We really want to make a good match. We want to get to know the person, match them up with an animal who's going to meet their needs. And they may be spending time with quite a few animals to make sure that they find who they're looking for. We disclose all of the information we have about that animal, behavioral information, medical information, so that they can make an informed choice. We have them fill out an application. Our application process is really simple. It just takes 1 to 2 business days to process an application. We do a couple quick checks to make sure that it's going to be a good fit.
Background checks also?
That's right. We do background check
Okay.
our applicants. And then we would have the person come back by appointment to do an adoption session. And the purpose of that is to really set that animal and person up for success, to be able to share with them some helpful information that'll make the transition to their new home a good one.
Sure. And then, as you had mentioned earlier, Cheryl, there are follow-up calls, you said?
We have a follow-up email that we send
An
out.
email,
An
okay.
email.
All right.
Another service that we provide our community is we have volunteers that, let's say that Cari found a cat and she brought it into the shelter, and a couple months later, one of our volunteers is going to call up Cari on the phone, and if they get Cari or they just get a message machine, it will say, this is the Oshkosh Area Humane Society. We're just calling to let you know that the cat that you brought in has been adopted. And so we let people know the outcomes of, the animals. We can't tell them where or what, but we can tell them that they have been placed. And then I think we do more than one follow-up with adopters, and that's usually done through constant contact, and we love those because a lot of times we'll get pictures and little
Sure.
stories,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that just, kind of really connects us, keeps us connected.
Why does the shelter not do home visits like so many rescues do? Is it that you don't have the volunteers?
We just don't have the capacity to do that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yep.
I
think
kind of
that's a
thought
big
that was
resource.
it, but
Yeah.
rescues tend to, have volunteers spread out all over the place. Like I volunteer with a couple rescues from Illinois, and one in Milwaukee, and
Yeah.
they're
Well,
all
and you have to
over,
think
so-
about, too, I mean, some weeks we'll adopt out 15 to 30 cats. That's 15 to 30 home visits.
Yeah.
That would really slow down the adoption process. And we've learned that even on our application, we don't ask for references. We believe in having conversations with people, and we're honest with them, and we hope that they will be forthright with us.
Okay.
So far, it's, does it always work? No, it doesn't. But hopefully in those cases, the animal comes back to us, or, whatever happens.
Okay, excellent. I want to just finish up by recapping the Walk for the Animals on Saturday, September 14th at the Sunnyview Expo Center, which for people who have been around forever, it's the old fairgrounds out off County Road Y, across from the dog park.
There we go, across from the dog park.
So that's an easy one to figure out. Rain or shine. I don't
Rain
think we
or
mentioned that
shine.
before, but rain or shine.
Yep.
Starts at 8:30 in the morning, goes until about noon, and I can attest for the fact that by 1 o'clock, everything is gone. Everyone's
done.
gone, things are gone. By noon, it wraps up and people start heading out.
And it's a lot of fun.
So it is.
Lot of
It
fun.
is. So feel free to come on out. Guys, thanks so much. And
Thanks for having us.
congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your years of progression through the shelter and your new role.
Thank you so
and-
much.
And the new department creation. So that's good.
We're very lucky to have her.
Yes. Well, I think the shelter's lucky to have everyone that it has, really. And
We really are.
that
We have a
includes
great
you,
team.
so-
We have a
Yes.
great team, and it's we have great leadership. Joni Geiger,
Yep.
she has instilled in all of us. It's all about the animal
Okay. And their people.
and their people.
Okay, thanks guys for being here. Also, if you would like to volunteer with On Oshkosh, you just have to send me an email at the address that's on your screen right now. If you're listening to us on radio, it would be ionoshkosh@gmail.com. You don't need to have any knowledge. We will provide training, but we're always looking for help so that the people that we do have don't have to be here every single time we tape. So feel free to reach out. It's a lot of fun, and you will learn a lot in the process. That's going to do it for us. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.